The main cause of the October Revolution in 1970 was the entire Russia's socio-economic and public political crisis. The First World War was a military confrontation of the Triple Alliance and the Entente, which active participant was Russia. 3 years later, by the summer of 1917, we realized to an independent economic collapse and the depletion of republic resources. The prices of bread incredibly increased. Industrial goods also raised in price. The ruble fell down, inflation spread, but nevertheless, the provisional government did not take any measures to save the starving population.
I think the fundamental problem is still that Russian society by 1917 was so profoundly polarized between basically the sort of the haves and the have-nots. In Russia, unlike in most of the rest of Central and Eastern Europe, you didn't have really a property-owning peasantry. So you have tens of millions of peasants who don't own land, who are not really very invested in the existing social order, and who are, whatever their feelings about individuals, they might think they're individual, sort of the individual, member of the nobility who lives near them is quite a nice guy, and the local merchant's not a bad guy. But there's a lot of deep-seated antagonism which has sort of developed over centuries.
The revolution strongly affected Kazakh strike. It happened in cities like Karaganda and so on. Many workers lost job or worked long hours for low pay. Farming declined, food became scarce, and hunger spread. People protested in cities like Petropavlovsk. Political activity grew as Kazakhs started thinking more about their national identity and future.
Russia had not fared well in the conflict, and there was growing resentment at home. The Russian army continued to suffer defeats, and by 1917, they had suffered over 1.7 million military deaths in World War I, with millions more wounded or captured. At home, peasants were starving due to restrictions placed on food. As a result, the popularity of communist political groups increased as they called for Russia to leave the war. The Tsar, however, refused to let Russia quit from the conflict. The revolution finally occurred in 1917. However, it was a revolution that occurred in stages over the course of the year.
During this time, Kazakh leaders formed the party Alash. They wanted autonomy for Kazakhstan within a democratic federal Russia. They supported education, democracy, and equality. They also promoted women's political rights. Two big Kazakh congresses happened in 1970, where leaders discussed land, religion, and creating a national government. They didn't want war, but they wanted freedom in political reform.
Вы прекрасно знаете, это до сих пор нерешенный вопрос. Лидеры Алаш, которые группировались вокруг газеты «Казах», выступали против. Поэтому Ахмед Байтусунов говорил о том, что насколько понятна была казахскому народу февральская революция, настолько непонятна была Октябрьская революция.
We recently conducted a survey to gather knowledge and thoughts from our participants. A total of 150 people participated in the survey, providing valuable information. So through the theory, we learned a few facts from the people on the question asked. We can see here majority of the surveillants know the October Revolution that took place in 1917, but they don't know the reason why the October Revolution is celebrated on the 7th of November. And not on October 25th. According to statistics, 35% of people think that the February Revolution proceeded, and the next 35% of people believe that it was a year of great troubles, but others think that there was a civil war. In the next question, we found out that 4% of people know that Lenin asked to seize the Winter Palace, the bank and telegraphs, and the most of the press chose the bridges and the train station. So the last question was about the future fate of provincial state after the revolution, and 70% of people answered correctly. They were arrested, but over than half people believed that they were shot on the spot.
The Alash party became a symbol of Kazakh national awakening. Its leaders like Bukikhanov and Baitarsunov published newspapers and worked to until Kazakhs. Even though the Soviet regime later ended the movement, Alash inspired future generations. The October Revolution brought both hope and violence, and its legacy shaped the political future of Kazakhstan.
History is written in blood. Never forget the price of freedom.